Hello and welcome to another episode of this podcast where we will be talking about simple phenomena, different other items, things that did not fit into one particular theme, but it still counts as something that needs to be discussed, that needs to be spoken of. And when I talk about this, we need to discuss something today, or I need to speak about something today, which is very much predominant in this environment, in this society. It's prevalent across the globe, and something that actually bothers or something that actually troubles teenagers and young adults equally. I'm talking about nothing else but bullying. Now, before we start with what exactly happens in bullying and what exactly should and should not be done in that case, please ask yourself first of all, have you ever been bullied? The answer for this probably would be yes or probably would be no. It's very subjective because a person who is the bully or a person who is bullying someone might not think that they've bullied someone. But on the other hand, the person who is receiving it, they might think that even something as meager as pulling off each other's leg can be considered as bullying, because the statement is so generic that people just say it out loud that he or she has kept on bullying me, or they have been bullying me for a very long time. But is that true? Is that the reality? That is what we want to talk about. Perhaps let's take it on the other road. Ask yourself this question: did you ever bully someone? Did you actually went out of the road and you bullied someone to an extent that it affected them very seriously? The probable answer for this would definitely be a no. You will think that, okay, yes, I have been bullied, I might have never been bullied, but when someone asks you if you were a bully, you would definitely say, no, I am not. Again, the same thing, it's very subjective. People think bullying on different degrees, the intensity is different, but at the end of the day, it needs to be taken into account, it needs to be taken into consideration that bullying must be defined in a very specific manner. Now, something that can be a physical threat, a verbal threat or abuse, an aggressive act or an aggressive behavior towards you, or something that you do towards others that tries to dominate you or the other person over the other person. Now, these are things, these are the specifics on how we define bullying, and I guess everyone here can understand this, can actually perceive that yes, this is somewhat is bullying. But then why exactly do we fail to understand if we are being a bully? It's because of this complex, it's because of this understanding or this conditioning that we have, thinking that we can never do wrong. For us, often we just state for the purpose of stating or for the sake of stating this fact that we can do wrong, we are humans, we do commit mistake, but do we actually mean it? I don't think so. We don't mean it at all when we say that, because if we did, then there would be a constant radar, there would be a constant radar on your head throughout 24/7 that would try to make sure that you are not committing anything that is wrong, or you're not doing an act which is wrong. But yes, we do commit mistakes, and bullying is one such mistake that we're going to talk about. Today, when we are discussing bullying, I need to clarify on something. The bullying part does not just stay with school. It's not just something that is very juvenile. People way past into their adulthood or young adulthood, they also indulge into bullying. At school, we see that okay, bullying is very normal, from pulling someone else's chair while they were sitting, to fighting with them, to hitting them because they think you think that the person is physically inferior because they don't have that physique that they can fight back. That is also bullying. Yelling at them, humiliating them, making jokes on them in the class when they don't appreciate it. Now, defending your jokes, saying that we are friends so we can kid around, is different. But if the person who is on the receiving end of the joke does not feel the same way, he or she or they can absolutely call it bullying. Anything that can traumatize them mentally is also bullying. Anything that traumatizes them physically can also be bullying. So we need to keep that in mind. We need to always keep that in mind when we talk about bullying, because it's not what we think, it's exactly what the other person on the receiving end feels. So whenever we see this, whenever we find these different types of situations where someone thinks that they're just having fun, they're just, fooling around, but the other person does not feel the same way and to a certain extent are getting traumatized or getting hurt or getting upset from the behavior that they're receiving. At that point of time, it becomes a very thin line which easily gets broken and it easily surpasses. But this was what we talk about in teenagers. But in adulthood, bullying is just as common as there is in adolescence or teenage, because the most common aspect is the colleges. Colleges are straight after school. You really think that, okay, now we are adults, but in reality, you are still on the transitional phase. You are still transitioning from a school student to a college student, and that is where the difference comes up. So the same type of bullying that happens in school tends to continue till your first few years, the initial phase of your college life, and that is also wrong, because the idea or the mind in general has brought in this idea that now we are adults, we are in college, we need to act maturely, but at the same time, on some other axis, your brain tends to get back into these activities that you used to do in school, which is not appropriate or not suitable for college at all. So while there is no connection and there is no communication between the two aspects, where one part of your brain is trying to, one part of your mind is trying to dominate the maturity that needs to be shown at this age, and the other part is still trying to cope with the transitional phase and trying to tell you about what is right and what is wrong. So the latter tells you about, bullying other people or making jokes about other people, just like you did in school. But the former one realizes that very late, and by the time it does realize it, it's too late to understand and mend things that were supposed to be meant. So whenever we talk about adulthood, we don't see that adults don't get into bullying. Even this thing, sometimes things like this, they don't actually phase out. They don't fade off with time once there's a transitional phase. So even at workplace, you might find yourself in a situation where you are indulging into bullying, either physical or verbal. It does not matter as long as the person is getting some sort of a psychological trauma. So now if a group of people, they've been bullying you, like there are five or six of your friends who call themselves your friend, but they still try to bully you, or they make fun of you in school, in classes, etc. That is a very specific type of bullying which is known as mobbing. That is, they formulate a group, and that group tends to keep on working, keep on giving you a mental trauma or a physical trauma at some times. And with today's time, this bullying, this mobbing, this has all taken a very serious turn with the use of technology. Now, cyberbullying is something that needs to be taken care of, because earlier, back in the days, people did not have access to the internet, so most of that happened face to face, where you know who was the person who is trying to harass you, threaten you, or embarrass you as well. But now in cyberbullying, that face takes a leap. You don't see the person, you don't see what they're thinking, what their face is trying to show, if it's actually a joke, or if it's something which is supposed to hurt you or humiliate you. So whether it's social media websites, it's email, it's instant messaging, or text messages, cyberbullying is also supposed to be very highly common in secondary school and in colleges. People think it's cool to make fun of others, and that is what is the root cause of bullying, and probably something that needs to be taken care of at the primary level. One person, two people, three people at any school, at any classroom, have that capacity to influence children in the primary area or the primary division to actually create the impact that can lead to making fun of others, that starts off as making fun of others in class, so that a little bit of fun happens, a little bit of mockery happens, but that creates a ripple effect, that creates a snowball effect, and that leads to the avalanche that is a very serious term, that becomes bullying, mobbing, whatever you call it. But yes, we need to address that. And if you have ever been bullied, if you have ever been mobbed by your friends, the best way to address it is by speaking up. If they are actually your friends, they will address it. If they are not your real friends, then they will make fun of you speaking up. And that, as an adult, as a young adult, as a teenager, as an adolescent, is the time where you need to make some very important decisions. That is, whether you have to continue your so-called friendship with these people who make fun when you share that part of your life where you are feeling hurt and embarrassed, and that is something that should not be acceptable. With this, I close this statement, I close today's podcast, and I hope I have shared something very much important. If you have anything to share with us, we'll keep on posting such things, something that just comes as a musing to our head. And we would really appreciate if you could comment, if you could tell us what you would like to hear about, if you could tell us what exactly was that actually made sense or related to you, anything of that sort. Thank you so much. We'll come back soon. Happy Diwali.